Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is Norway Chess, Round 1, Norway Chess 2026. One of the most unique events ever. I'm going to spend a couple minutes just quickly explaining the format. We won't do this for every video, but it is a really unique format. And so how it works is the players, 6 in the open, 6 in the women, they play against each other. It's a single round robin, it's a double round robin. They play a classical game of chess. If it ends in a draw, they play Armageddon. And how the Armageddon works is white gets more time, but black gets draw odds, meaning if the game ends in a draw, black wins. You get 1 point for losing in Armageddon. You get 1.5 for winning in Armageddon. The big point swings happen in the classical matches. If you win your classical game, you get 3 points. And if you lose, you get 0. You don't even get that 1 point for getting to Armageddon. And so it means that, there's some tactics that can be involved and so on and so forth. It rewards you for winning your classical games and for trying to create a game. And so in round 1, we had 2 amazing classical games that ended in victories for 2 different players. One in the women's, which we'll cover first, Armageddon versus Bibisara Assaubayeva. But in the open, the classical game between Magnus Carlsen and Alireza Firouzja. Alireza Firouzja, who has a damaged ankle, who played recently 2 classical games from bed. He was going up against the former world champion. We do have the current reigning world champions in this section, if I'm not mistaken. Gukesh Dommaraju playing in the open and Zhu Jiner playing in the women's. They both went to Armageddon today. The first matchup, of course, is Armageddon versus Bibisara Assaubayeva, who finished second in the candidates. d4, knight to f6, c4, g6, and we get this, which is like a King's Indian, it's a King's Indian defense, straight up. I don't know so Bibisara obviously goes for g6. I do wonder if she would have considered a Grunfeld, just with this move order. It's possible. And the Grunfeld, of course, being this. I do wonder if this is what she might have been going for. But the King's Indian at top level, you don't see it a lot. But where you do see it is a lot in the women's sections. Carissa Yip, one of the big proponents of it. Bibisara, of course, using it today. And we get a mainline kind of. We don't get white committing all like 4 pawns or even 3. So we go for this. It's a lot more open. It's a lot more open. White's made the decision to play d5, which opens up the dark squared bishop. We get h6, the bishop retreating, g5, and like Bibisara's got a great position. She's about to get the bishop pair, which she gets, and now she's just got to play this position. She plays e6, we get bishop to e2, takes, knight takes. That looks free, but it might not be worth taking. So Bibisara doesn't take it. Just for those of you wondering, if you wanted to take this, rook takes h6. You can take my rook. I don't care. This position is mate in 10 for white. So you've got to be super careful. So rook e8, because by taking this, you give up defense of this. That is the one drawback of pushing these pawns and then taking the bishop, allowing white to open up the h file. So knight to c3 back. We get bishop to f5. Now queen to b3. And now a big decision here, knight to c6. We don't try and get away with b6. We're just perfectly happy for you to take this pawn. But it's not good, because you can uncork knight to d4. Knight to d4. If you take the knight, c takes d4. And even though you're down a thing, your bishop is hanging, your knight is hanging, I'm pushing the pawn to win the bishop back. It is a very good position for black. So, white castles for this reason. And now we get rook to b8. So a very level game that we've got into. g4. Black has made some overcommitments. But I mean, like Bibisara's position is really good. Yes, she's got this pawn, which can be a weakness. But she's got a great clamp on everything here. Her knight is well centered. Her rooks are going to be active. She does have this backwards pawn on d6, which could be a problem. But that is about her only weakness at the moment. And she's up on time. So we get e4, which is an inaccuracy. From Armageddon, bishop to h7, and now rook to d5. Very common idea. Just this pawn can't be moved or sacrificed. We're going to double the rooks and put the utmost amount of pressure as we can onto that pawn. h5 now. Rook a to d1, and now rook e6. So far defending, but black might have to contort themselves in weird ways, particularly because now knight e3 is coming in. Potentially knight to f5 to put pressure. Potentially just sacrificing this rook. Both knights have got great control over here, so it's a very interesting position. h4, Bibisara continues to crack down on the king side. And now knight to f5. I just said it was in the plans. It's not a good move. And it's hard to explain why it's not a good move. Because you would think, well, if the rook has to move and then they'll win this pawn. But that's not it. It's actually just h takes g3. H takes g3 is the key move here. Does Bibisara find it? She does. She does. Now you put the other knight to the other side of the board, back-to-back mistakes, and Bibisara Assaubayeva is completely winning. I don't know why the screen has now shifted. Because we had, in the space of a couple of moves, knight f5 and knight b5, no good. We get take with check, king comes out, and now I remove the knight. Why do I remove the knight now? Because when you take back, I don't even move my rook. I play queen f6. You can't take my rook because you lose your king. And when your king moves, I take this pawn. And Bibisara is completely winning. Yes, you can win my d6 pawn. I don't care. Queen f4. G3. Queen h6. Knight comes back, targeting the queen. It looks like you can't make progress, and Bibisara doesn't find the right move. Queen g5. Most of her advantage is gone. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. The winning move here, it's not simple because your queen is under attack. And you've got to be very careful of certain tactics and so on. But the winning move here is queen to h3. That is the winning move that Bibisara had to find. Because then rook d6, you can play rook takes d6, rook takes d6, and you can play rook e8. And everything is kind of held together. This is a problem. And, bishop f1, kicking the queen out, you can go to h5, and so on. And this would have been okay. And we could have got this trade. And apparently this position is perfectly fine for Bibisara. Queen g5 is wrong. Explain to me why, I don't know. Rook f1 now. Now we get b6 so that this rook can finally go into the game. But now rook f4. And Humpy Conneru is able to create a bit of a blockade. Queen g6, and now we look to trade rooks. Bishop f6, takes, rook takes. Now bishop takes here. You were up a pawn, you've now lost your pawn. And both kings are now getting very exposed. They are both getting very exposed. You've got to be so careful. Rook to d8 hits the queen. Queen comes to e2. King to f8. Bishop to h3. Rook to d4. King to h2. Rook to d3. King to g2. Now under time pressure. Look at this. They've just hit move 40. Queen g6, queen e4, rook d2 check, rook f2, knight comes in. They're just getting a little bit of bonus time. They didn't get much time at all. We get queen a8 check, bishop blocks on d8. It almost was mate there. We get this trade. This comes with check, and the king goes the wrong way. Time pressure, it's not easy. The king's got a couple of choices. There is only one move, and you have to play king to g1. The big thing is the queen is hitting the bishop. And if it's able to take it, the king is mated. Unless he runs. So now what you've got to do is you've got to play like knight takes b2. So that the queen defends the bishop. And now there will be something like bishop f1. And you struggle to give checks. You cannot check the black king. The white king, sorry. With the black queen. King f3 allows the knight coming back, which wasn't the best move, but it was good enough. King continues to come forward, and now queen e2 check, and Humpy Conneru resigns. Absolutely ridiculous game. Absolutely ridiculous. And so we move to the finale of today. Alireza Firouzja with the white pieces against Magnus Carlsen, the greatest chess player of all time. Alireza Firouzja, whose foot is in a boot after he hurt his ankle. We get d4 from him and d5 from Magnus Carlsen. Very interesting because we get c4 and e6. It's interesting because you don't often see players go into the Queen's Gambit declined in this move order. If they're going to play a Queen's Gambit declined, they often start with knight f6. We get c4, e6. Players avoid the Nimsa Indian, and you get the Queen's Gambit declined in this move order. Going with d5 when players play c4, it's almost because you want to play a Queen's Gambit accepted. This is what you want to do. So you don't often see this move order with e6, because look at this, we get the same position. And now knight to c3. Magnus has a few options. He plays h6, already an interesting move. We get a3, and now c5. This is perfect for Magnus Carlsen. This is what he wants to do. 3 knights variation, nothing too complex here. We get c takes d5. Now, the most common move is the mirror image capture, but instead we get e takes d5. Because here you can sometimes get away with this. And this is a common move, and then you get queen a4, and it's just a different style of game. But Magnus Carlsen elects for e takes d5. We get bishop to f4, now knight to c6, and now e3. We get a6. It looks like a very symmetrical position. Magnus here commits to c4, which is a very interesting move. It really is a very interesting move, simply because you no longer have pressure on the center, so you can never take. And what you do is now, after this becomes a much bigger weakness, because it's now having to defend this. So it becomes a much bigger weakness. We get the knight jumping into e5, bishop to d6, short castles. The players finally remember to castle on move 11. You can see Magnus Carlsen, and this was the thing in his last classical tournament in Taipei. He is spending a lot of time in these classical games. He's down every game that he's played. In his last classical tournament and in this one, he is spending a lot of time. It is ridiculous. Bishop to g3, now bishop to f5, f4, bishop to e7, bishop to f3, rook to c8. Like, Alireza has started to think here, right? And he's 2760. It's unbelievable that there's like 80 rating points between the two of them, considering how good they've been. But Alireza's classical resume is not as strong as his rapid and blitz resume. But it's just ridiculous. So we get rook to c1, slight inaccuracy, but nothing too major. b5, now bishop to e1. It's a very maneuvering game. b4 takes, bishop takes. And so we have this clarification of the pawn structure. This could be a weakness for Alireza Firouzja that he'll have to defend. The rook might slide back, and this could be something he puts pressure on. Magnus won't necessarily rush to take, because he'll fix the pawn structure. So we get bishop to h4, looking perhaps to take here, and, take here, and cause some problems. We get this capture from Magnus. I just said he won't rush, but he clearly thought this was a good idea. And now queen d6 gets out of this pin, allows the knight to perhaps move into this hole on e4. So we get here rook to a1. Now we get the knight moving to e4, and it looks like you simply have given up this pawn. Magnus has. Rook takes a6. His idea, though, is f6, kick out this knight, and this is hanging. So we get bishop takes, knight drops back, and now queen slides over, gets out the way of the pin. The rook was pinning the knight to the queen. We get the knight dropping back to f2, and now our knight goes back, and Alireza Firouzja is just down a pawn. Magnus never got it back. We get queen e2, rook to c6, we get this trade, and despite the fact Magnus Carlsen is finally up on time on move 27, he's up 4 minutes on the clock. He's down a pawn. The engine still thinks it's level. 100% the engine still thinks it's level. But unless he commits to putting everything on light squares and giving himself dark squared weaknesses, these two pawns are just a massive problem. Both of them. Now the knight can sit here and put pressure on each of these, and you can swing the rook out. But this is going to be a massive defensive task. Because we have rook to a1. Now the knight comes into d5, as I said. The bishop drops back to e1. Everything is defended. Rook to b8. And now f5. f5 is an interesting move, because it starts to kind of freeze Magnus's pawns. He now no longer can play f5 himself, because it might have been a good move, because what you do is, instead of, let's say, rook to b8, you play f5 yourself. And the reason this might be interesting, maybe not in this position, but the engine still thinks it's level, is simply because you're defending this. So you're creating one less weakness, you might be able to push this, or you might just be able to defend this. However, there are certain g4 moves that could be a problem. But Magnus decides not to do this. He brings the rook, but now f5 is played by Firouzja himself. And these two pawns are weaknesses for a considerable amount of time longer. We had king to h7. Now the queen comes to g4. It's also an anchor to get in here. You can't play g4. My queen can get into g6. Queen d7. And now look at that. One pawn has been lost. Rook to e8. I go back. And king to g8 is a blunder from Magnus Carlsen, played with 19 seconds left on the clock. I don't understand why knight takes was not played. There's probably a tactic, but I do not understand why he wouldn't just take this back. I assume there was something he didn't like with queen g6, but you've got king h8, and yes, there's like bishop d2, and certain sacrifices this way, but you can get away with knight takes f5. Perhaps this is what was missed, that knight takes f5 guards h6. I don't know, Magnus Carlsen is the greatest chess player in the world. But queen g4, like, something takes here, right? Even, like, knight takes e3, it's +1. Like, I don't understand it. Anyway, king to g8, complete blunder, and now e4, you can't take the pawn back. The knight goes in anyway, now queen f3. You maneuver, and well done, you're able to get out, you're not getting trapped. It's +4, Alireza Firouzja is just completely winning, he's up 2 pawns. And your knight finally gets back on side, but e5, and you're about to get marched down the board. This captures, this is getting pushed. You take here, takes back. This position is completely horrible. I'm just marching you down the board. Your knight is nowhere in the game. This bishop is supporting the pawn. Rook will come in. King is going to be vulnerable. Alireza Firouzja takes down Magnus Carlsen in the classical chess game. This is his first classical win ever against Magnus Carlsen, and it comes in round 1 of Norway Chess. Now, Magnus Carlsen does not like to lose Norway Chess, so we shall see how this ends for all those involved, but it's quite frankly ridiculous. Every other game went to Armageddon. Those were the only 2 matchups settled in what we shall call regular time. So in the Armageddons, Divya Deshmukh defeated Zhu Jiner. There was a draw between Zhu Jiner and Anna Musachuk, which meant that black won, and I believe that was Zhu Jiner. There was a win for Gukesh against Vincent Keymer in Armageddon, and a win for Praggnanandhaa Babu against Wesley So in Armageddon. And so that means that in the open section, Alireza Firouzja leads. He will be joined near the top, but 1.5 points behind, by Praggnanandhaa Babu and Gukesh D, the 2 Indians. Wesley So and Vincent Keymer will be on 1 point each, and Magnus Carlsen will be on 0. In the women's section, of course, Bibisara Assaubayeva will be in first place, Humphrey Conneru is in last, and the 2 winners from the Armageddons, I believe that is Zhu Jiner and Divya Deshmukh, will be on 1.5 points, and then 1 point each for Anna Musachuk and Zhu Jiner. But it's just round 1, ladies and gentlemen. We've still got 9 rounds to go. It is a phenomenal tournament. Let me know what you think of Norway Chess in the comments down below. Let me know if you're following the event and if you enjoy this type of event in chess, and what you think of the format that they use. Do you like that the players, after a draw in classical chess, still play Armageddon to get some points? What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.